give you a brief mock opening statement. Let's say we're dealing with a robbery case. So one eyewitness robbery case with a show-up identification. The clerk, we'll say her name is Ms. Josie Feliciano, was working at the corner store, the Gas and Go store, let's say on Niagara Street in downtown Buffalo, and she gets robbed by a man who's wearing a baseball cap and a bandana. He steals cash and some lottery tickets at gunpoint and then takes off. And then your client is, after she calls 911, is apprehended by police 1 block away, dressed somewhat similarly to the perpetrator, but there's some important details that you're going to want the jury to focus on. So let's assume that the prosecutor has just given her opening statement and basically said, members of the jury, and at the end of the case, we are confident that after you've heard all the evidence in the case, you will find this defendant guilty of robbery in the first degree for stealing the cash and the money at gunpoint from Ms. Feliciano at the store on April 1st of 2020. So as defense counsel, you'll get up in front of the jury, you will stand up and do your thing, something like this or whatever works for you. So may it please the court, opposing counsel, members of the jury, my name is Tim Franczyk and I represent Carl Santana, who is the accused in this particular case. You know, in her opening statement, the prosecutor said that seeing is believing. And she also said that she believes that at the end of the case, you will see that this defendant, my client, is the person who committed this robbery of Miss Feliciano at gunpoint on April 1st at the convenience store. Specifically, they're claiming, or their contention is that my client robbed Miss Feliciano of $50 in cash and a string of lottery tickets at gunpoint. But you know, there's another saying that I think is applicable to this case, and that is that the devil is in the details. And when we examine together the details of this case, I think what you will see beyond any reasonable doubt is that the people are not able to prove my client's guilt, and that they will not be able to overcome the presumption of innocence that surrounds my client from the beginning to the end of this case. You know, at the end of the trial, the judge is going to tell you that the people have the burden of proof to establish not only every element of the crime charged, in this case the forcible taking of property, but also that my client is actually the person who committed it, the identity of my client as the perpetrator. And as we look at the details of this case, you will see that this is where the prosecution's case will fall woefully short of the standard that you will require in order to return a verdict of guilty. They just won't be able to do it. And as we hear the testimony of Miss Feliciano, listen carefully to the description of the perpetrator that she gave to the 911 operator. The evidence is going to show, as I understand it, that when she called 911, she said she was robbed by an individual who was wearing a baseball cap and he was wearing a bandana up to his nose. And when the 911 operator asked her for details with respect to the baseball cap, she said it was blue in color and it had what she believed to be a New York Yankees emblem or logo on it. And when asked about the bandana that he was wearing, she said it was red and white. Well, you're going to learn that my client was apprehended by the police within minutes of this robbery, walking on Prospect Avenue, where he lives, by the way, and that he was wearing a baseball cap and a bandana. However, the officers will tell you, and the evidence is going to show, that the baseball cap that my client was wearing was a blue and red Boston Red Sox baseball cap, not a blue Yankees cap. And that this bandana that he was wearing was not red and white, but it was blue and white in color. Now, under normal circumstances, you would probably think that wearing a bandana out on the street is somewhat suspicious, right? Unless you're a cowboy, you're riding the rodeo. It's not common for people to wear bandanas, certainly not over their faces, right? But in these times that we are living in with this coronavirus, and people are told to engage in social distancing and to cover up their faces, it's not so unusual at all, is it? But the point is that my client was wearing a blue and white bandana, as the evidence will show, and the baseball cap was different from the one the victim claims the robber was wearing. Now, you're going to learn also that the police officers who apprehended, so to speak, or accosted my client patted him down and searched him, even though they really didn't have any probable cause to do so. But that aside, what you're going to learn is they did not find a single lottery ticket, not one, in his possession. And you're going to learn that the victim said that one of the things that was stolen from her was an arm's length string of lottery tickets. My client had no lottery tickets in his possession, as you will see. And I think you'll also have some serious questions about the circumstances under which my client was allegedly identified as the robber. What you're going to learn is that the police officers, not knowing one way or another who he was or whether or not he was involved, they put him in handcuffs, threw him in the back of the patrol car, drove him back to the scene of the crime, which was about a block away, and they pulled him out of the patrol car in handcuffs. Gumball lights are flashing. They bring the victim out and they say to her, well, we've got this guy here with a baseball cap and a mask around his face. This is the guy who robbed you, isn't it? What would you expect that she would say? She said, yes, I think that's him. Yes, that's him. So really, ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to find that this is the sum and substance of the people's case. And, well, seeing may cause people to believe one thing or another. Just because they believe it, as you will see, doesn't necessarily mean it's true or accurate or that you can rely on it. So the devil, as I said, you will see, is in the details. And we focus on the details of this case in terms of the color of the baseball cap, the logo, the color of the bandana, the absence of the lottery tickets in his possession. And then we look at the suggestive circumstances under which my client was identified. I am confident that when all is said and done, the details will tell you my client is not guilty and that you will return the only verdict that justice requires in this case, and that is a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. Well, anyway, I hope that is of some help to you. Obviously, if you give an opening statement, you're going to be standing and talking to the jury, not sitting there like me. But in any event, focus on those things that you think are the highlights in terms of establishing reasonable doubt. And I think you do that, you give a good opening statement. So good luck and thank you.